Hi everyone, this is Nailah Hunter again here with a video diary number 2 for the Wide Rainbow Residency. And what a wild start to the year we have had, right? And I know I am not the only person who is feeling tired, a little scared, a little sad about all of the events that have taken place in just the first couple of weeks of this year. It's just been a wild ride. So here we are, all in need of an emotional hug, if you will, right? And so this week, I really want to focus on making sure that we're all really ready to receive our feelings, right? It's important to give ourselves space to feel the depth of our emotions, right? And, we can process our emotions by talking to someone else who we trust or by writing privately in a journal, whatever it is. Making sure that we acknowledge and release any feelings that we are having is super important in this time of stress and sadness, right? So I kind of want to talk to you about something called art therapy. And that's really what I like to think of my entire practice as. Whenever I'm feeling sad or scared or a little off, I love to recenter and just calm myself with watercolor painting. And obviously I am not a visual artist. I would never call myself a visual artist. I respect and revere many visual artists and work closely with illustrators and animators. So this is by no means me attempting to be a painter, right? But you don't have to be a painter to know how a certain color makes you feel, right? Or a certain shape or a kind of line, right? So this is a way of processing our emotions through visual art. And we've been talking about graphic scores. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to make a large watercolor painting that will serve as a graphic score for us. And then we'll go into the studio and make a sonic rendering of that. So it's really exciting. And I hope that you will consider doing your own watercolor paintings. It doesn't have to be watercolor. You could do colored pencil, really anything with pigment. Just meeting your emotions, considering them, and assigning colors to them. That's really what it comes down to. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the process that I use to do this art therapy. And hopefully you can take those steps and try it for yourself. First, close your eyes and notice what emotions come up. So, right now I'm sitting in my garden and I'm very grateful for this garden, for all of the peace that it's brought me and being able to be in nature during the pandemic. So right now, I'm closing my eyes and feeling a sense of calm, but there is something underneath the surface of that calm. Name that emotion. So literally give it a name. It could be anything from sadness, ickiness, or darkness, lightness, happiness. Obviously, there are many ways to think of your feelings. It also could just be a word, oceanish. You can make it up, but the goal here is to identify your feelings with a word, something that you can identify. Then you assign a color to that emotion. So that's the way that we're gonna make our color palette for the painting, right? And then once you have your color palette, paint and just let your feelings lead the direction of the brush, how hard or soft you stroke, etc., etc. Remember that the painting does not have to resemble anything recognizable, and it's kind of fun to release yourself from the confines of making something that looks like art, right? This is all just about your feelings. It could look like absolutely nothing or everything, right? Once you've done some of your painting, put some of your feelings down, I think it's great to step away from the painting. Take some time away from it, do a different activity, And then you're gonna come back to it and see if anything jumps out at you. Anything new jumps out at you, right? So you could turn the painting a different way. Maybe the things that you've drawn or painted make a different picture this way, right? Maybe a storyline comes to mind. Maybe something that has happened to you comes to mind, but it's all just more information. And then continue the steps, right? So making another color palette, etc., etc., and building upon this until you finally look at your painting and you say, that's it. Okay, so now we have our painting. I'm going to synthesize it into a song. So hopefully you're looking at the painting here. And as you can see, I also have this color swatch, and I named each of the colors just in terms of what they represented to me in the painting. I guess it depends on the situation, but I have recently been starting with piano more often than not, just to kind of lay a foundation. It is the first instrument that I ever played, so I think I'm most familiar with it. Screen will have a large version of the painting, so I can reference that and check in with my feelings. If we're going to consider this as our graphic score here, which is, like we talked about last week, basically a map. It's instructions, directions on how the composer intended the work to sound, right? So when you have a visual aspect to that, obviously there's a lot of room open for interpretation, and that's what's so fun about it. So you have to ask yourself how you want to read it. Are we reading from right to left? Are we reading from left to right? Is it a linear story, or can you jump around and express what your eye catches first, right? So I think that I'm going to read this starting in the bottom left corner here. Got my harp track, my harp effects track, my keyboard, and my voice track. And that's where all of that information will stay and come together to make a larger song. So for now, we're going to look down at my keyboard. So we have this undulating sound. There's a shimmer to it, right? Right, so there's this undulating sound, kind of like a shimmer to it, very deep. So we've got my chord keyboard here, just looking for something that sounds wistful, like the unknown, which we see as this blue colored, kind of scattered, always interwoven. So I'm zooming in here. chord, which they say sounds sad, and our major chord, which maybe sounds happy. Okay, so we're about to do vocals now.